Hello, everybody. What an exciting time to be alive. And the market is just getting crazier and crazier by the day. Let me make sure. Yes, everything's working. What a good day. So if you like this content, hit the like, subscribe, all the usual stuff that I never ever say, but there we go. Here we go. So despite it being a Monday, there's so much to cover. And as always, this is edutainment, not financial advice. And it's about math, money, and freedom. Let's not waste any more time and dig in. This tech dev guy, he puts together the coolest charts. So never met him, don't know him, but I love his stuff. And every day he's got a different flavor of where Bitcoin is going. Now, obviously, we just had the highest monthly close in Bitcoin history, and we're now headed towards our second monthly RSI. So if you look at this chart carefully, and I covered this before actually in a previous chart a couple of weeks ago, but you see the double RSI tops there in 2013 and again 2017, but we only had one in 2021 so far. So basically, according to TechDev, we are nowhere near a top. We have a long way to go. So we'll watch that RSI peak carefully as we go forward. So it's exciting, but there's more. Obviously, you guys all heard about this. Everybody should be following PlanB if you're not. Bitcoin to 98K in November. He was off the October call by 3%. Okay? It's unbelievable how good this guy is. And technically, you could have picked a couple of days where he was right on the money. So anyway, we are now, when I started the stream, $61,000 Bitcoin. With all the positive energy from you all, it's going to go higher. I'm convinced of that. So we'll see. What else do we have? That's good. The drain continues. The Bitcoin drain, the amount on the exchanges just keeps dwindling away. I think Coinbase lost 20,000 more Bitcoin yesterday. Not lost, but people put them in cold storage. And this is the topic of supply shock. A picture is grim if you are a Bitcoin bear and you're shorting Bitcoin, because we all know the lower the supply, the higher the price. And this stuff is, of course, from the on-chain analytics firm Glassnode. And again, lowest level Bitcoin reserves in 3 years on exchanges. And it gets worse and worse every single day. So it's extremely, extremely bullish. And remember, the money coming into Bitcoin is not retail, it's institutional, and they are locking it away as a hedge. Not a short-term trade, but a hedge against inflation. I'll talk more about inflation towards the end as well and how important that is. But as usual, here is my analysis of Bitcoin November returns. There used to be a song called November Rain, and typically in California, it rains in November, in Southern California especially. So everybody down there, make sure you keep an umbrella in your car just in case it can rain. But let's look at these numbers carefully. So, as usual, I have a big table of all historic prices, and I can just run a quick pivot and crunch these numbers. So, the average November returns are 49% going back to 2020. That's 11 years of data. And from this 11 years of data, we had 3 down years, which isn't bad. We had 7 up years and 1 flat. The first year doesn't really count because there wasn't a lot of trading, but that's where we are. Now, the bull market returns, they are the red box items here. They are 471% when Bitcoin went from 213 to 1200 and 52.7% return in 2017. So taking the average of 11 years and taking a third, we should get at least to 70,760 in November. That is my bear case scenario. So that's basically 10,000 from where we are now. And I will put this out on video and give you that commitment. Of course, there's no financial advice and no guarantees in this game, but literally 70,760 should be pretty easy to attain. And remember, in order to get to Plan B's number, we just need a 61% gain from where we are today to get to the 98,000. So 61% is a lot, but if you look at the history of the numbers I shared, November has an average return of 49%. So it's very possible, very feasible. And you know what? If he's off by 3%, what'll that give us? 95,000? We'll take that. So, good stuff. Now, in more good news, Justin Bennett tweeted this. This is the 2017 Bitcoin fractal, and it's been accurate since June, basically tracking perfectly. You can't make this stuff up. I'd nearly swear somebody has pulling the strings to make this look so similar. But you can see this currently shows 80K-ish in the next 2 weeks based on this historical chart, and it's tracked since June. So we'll see what happens. But basically, if we do track and hit 80K in the next 2 weeks, there could be a pullback to 65K and then straight to 100K in December. So let's see if he's right. This would just be incredible if he is. But a lot of people are calling for the same thing. So we'll see. Another cool chart from Dylan Clare, another person that really knows how to chart stuff well. The Bitcoin realized price, or realized price, whatever you want to call it, is the value of all coins at the price that they were bought divided by the amount of Bitcoin that is in circulation. Obviously, the lower the circulation, the higher the realized price. Now, with this, another way of thinking about this is the market cap is the result of multiplying all the coins that there are by the value of Bitcoin today. This is basically means, one way to interpret this is the worst case scenario for Bitcoin as a floor. So the realized price could be considered the worst case black swan floor for Bitcoin down to 23,100. So interesting chart. Now let's talk about Michael Saylor. We all love Michael Saylor. As you know, I've been a fan for his for a very long time. The CEO of MicroStrategy said Monday that Bitcoin is going up forever. I know he's a bit of a permabull, but Bitcoin going up forever sounds good. But it will experience bouts of volatility. He said this on CNBC. And he said that his firm, MicroStrategy, will continue to purchase cryptocurrency based on market conditions. And for the next 10 years, Bitcoin is going to be the strongest, hardest, most technically forward-looking store of value in the economy. And they will, again, continue to snap it up quarter by quarter every time they've got cash, or if they raise new debt, or they issue more shares to buy it, they will buy it. So we'll watch what happens there. And his shareholders are very happy so far. So that was the Michael Saylor news. Now this is Jeffrey Solomon, the CEO of Cowen and Company. He basically said, "We are so early." So I had this little title I put together. Clients are crypto curious from Cowen and Company. I like all the C's in that particular sentence. But here, what they are seeing is all of their clients, high net worth individuals, are coming to them saying, what is this crypto stuff? And how do I get a piece? How do I get a taste? So, you know, the money is we're still so early, and the money's coming in. And he sees an uptick, huge uptick in the people that are interested in getting some. The crypto curious people, he calls them. And he said this on Bloomberg Television. Now, he also sees mostly, at this stage, very little institutional involvement from where we are. But over the next 10 years, a huge amount of institutional participation is going to come to the market. So again, we're early, extremely positive sign. Now, in terms of the hash rate, the Bitcoin hash rate has almost completely recovered from the China ban of mining, and we are getting back. You know, historically, the price of Bitcoin used to follow the hash rate. Now, because of the setback, the opposite is true. But the fact that everything was so easily shrugged off from the China ban, and the Bitcoin mining difficulty has had its 8th consecutive increase, things are looking extremely positive. Now, there is a little concern that I have, though, and is to keep an eye on the potential clash between Bitcoin mining and the global semiconductor shortage. They could be on a collision course unless something happens. So we all know semiconductors are hard to find, and Bitcoin mining needs more of them. So fingers crossed something will give real fast. Now, speaking of smart money as well, Marc Andreessen from Andreessen Horowitz, that's what A16Z is, the number of letters, and Andreessen to Horowitz, the last letter of the name Horowitz. They basically have been behind some of the best investments. Marc Andreessen helped found Netscape, which is the very first browser, for those of you who remember. Took early stakes in Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Airbnb, Slack, Coinbase, you name it. All the best kind of Silicon Valley technology names. And they're quadrupling down on crypto with a multi-pronged lobbying effort. Also, they're getting tight with government officials and educating the government on how important crypto is for the future. Now, their vision, obviously they like financial services plays, they like disruptive plays, they like to disrupt industries, but they see this whole crypto world disrupting art, banking, finance, gaming, e-commerce, music, social media, communications, everything. but they probably didn't have insurance on the list, but everything is up for grabs, and that's why they are going in big and hard and follow the money. Now, speaking of other news, one of the industries that is up for disruption is, of course, the whole traditional financial services space. And speaking of DeFi, DAI is a stable coin we covered before, and it's managed by the DeFi protocol maker DAO. Now, this milestone here is Ethereum is now the primary collateral for the stablecoin DAI, which is a staggering achievement. It has just leapfrogged over USDC. So people wondering why Ethereum is so powerful for the future, just look at that as a simple example of how it's now a cornerstone store of value more than USDC in this particular mechanism. Now let's look at Polkadot. Polkadot, as I call it now. It is breaking new all-time highs. It is exploding. And we knew this was going to happen. And we've been talking about it for quite a while now with the parachain auctions coming. And expect November to be a bumper month, not only for Bitcoin, but also Polkadot. It could technically go to $80, maybe $100, depending on exactly how much volume is out there when people sell. So watch this space very carefully. But another cool thing to watch, and you guys know I like to watch flippening models. I just extended this one. Here, the market cap of Polkadot is flying up the charts. It's basically right now probably $50 billion. Cardano 64, Solana 61. So it's getting really compressed there between these three horses. So I'm wondering what's going to happen soon. So according to my math, Polkadot needs a $15 increase in price. So it needs to go to $65. And if Cardano stays the same, that means Polkadot will flip Cardano. And that technically, at the speed at which Polkadot's growing right now, that could happen before Solana. So that means Polkadot could actually leapfrog over Solana and Cardano if it just goes up to $65. So watch this space. And remember, Polkadot's just shot up $10 in a couple of days. And by the way, I just see in my chart here, Bitcoin's up $200 since I started. So that's all you guys, the good juju. So we'll monitor that flipping very carefully. In more DeFi news as well, SOLEND is such a cool little application. I have actually played with it and tried it out. And this kind of brings together the ability to borrow and lend on a decentralized autonomous platform. But what's really, really cool is you could stake or lend your Solana and exchange it for another asset, for example, Bitcoin. Or you can borrow money to buy more Bitcoin. So think of it as kind of all things DeFi on steroids. And I got really excited by this stuff is, depositing, borrowing, on a kind of like a decentralized exchange, all in one little package. And this is an example of the explosive nature of the space. And again, because it's decentralized, who can control the amount of growth in these areas? They just had their IDO, I think, yesterday or today. I wasn't able to get any because I'm in the US, but if anybody did, let me know in the comment below. This will be one to watch. And the amount of TVL on SOLEND has exploded to $1 billion in like a couple of days. So watch it. Now, the danger as well of the space that we're in crypto is this. Squid Games, pump and dump anybody? Obviously, you guys all heard about the TV show. But this can happen. Be very, very careful what you invest in. There's a lot of risk out there. That's why there's a lot of return. But be careful. If you do make some money fast, get out of it fast and stick it in a pristine asset. So I'm not saying anybody shouldn't go to the gambling tables. I personally wouldn't. But it's a shame when a lot of people lose a lot of money. And here, the users that had the Squid Games, and I know there's a lot of chatter about it over the last week, jumped in. And they were unable to sell it. The developers dumped all their tokens on the market, taking 12 million off before it went to zero. So just be very careful out there with what you play on and play with. This was clearly a scam from the beginning. Speaking of other scams and rug pulls, this is another investor rug pull. So many in the space, unfortunately, they kind of do a buy first, do research later mentality, which can cost you a lot of money. And I know a lot of people that have lost a lot of money over the last couple of years and things like this. This Anubis DAO, another decentralized autonomous organization, had a dog-themed, canine-themed branding. And I know everybody's hot on the Shibas and the doges and everything else. So these guys were clever. They said, let's fork from another DAO and create something with a dog theme and pump it on Twitter, and then take a whole bunch of ETH from a whole bunch of people and run away with the money. So they managed to pull off a scam, ripping $57 million worth of ETH off of unsuspecting investors. So again, it's a fork of the Olympus DAO, Animus DAO. These things exist everywhere. Do not trust things out there. Be very careful is the key message today. Now, everybody's asking, why is Tesla going completely bonkers? It is absolutely insane, but it's a combination of different things, gamma squeeze, etc. It will cool down, but the avalanche of good news continues. So if you look at the EV adoption, typically at the stage where we are now with electric vehicles, it should be about 62%. But the global electric vehicle sales is at 92% growth between this year now and 2020. And that is staggering. And that everybody just wants to buy EVs as quickly as they can get their hands on them. The other thing that's happening is these people, we trust our lives and future to all of these individuals here. You probably recognize some of your names. I know we have people from Spain and France and Germany and UK, India. But look at these people. They're in Italy, I think, tossing coins in the fountain. But the key thing here to remember is I think the COP26 is underway in Glasgow. But I don't know what they're going to do, what they're going to come up with. Hopefully they can put the brakes on some global warming. And there was an admission of guilt that the US was a bit clumsy in the way they handled the deal in the past last year, and it did cost France billions of dollars, but hopefully that'll all be fixed as we go forward. So enough of that news. Now let's go back to Tesla. Obviously, focusing on climate change will increase as well the demand for electric vehicles and promotion through credits and everything else. So this is the other reason why Tesla is up 70% in 40 days, which is staggering. I've seen this though before. I've seen this happen before. In 2019 and 2020, but it always comes back down to earth. So I'm going to do a little bit of TA Tuesday on some of the charting for Tesla as well tomorrow, so we can check those out for those who are interested. Now, Coinbase is back to its IPO levels. Woohoo! Well done for all those who bought at the IPO and were patient, but we are basically back to where we were on April 16th, which is good. Now, I expect blowout earnings. You can see that the adoption is rampant from the iTunes store with the top financial app that's downloaded. So they will have very good earnings, but I don't know if this run is going to be sustainable. Who knows, if things are really blowout, it might go up to $400, but then it should obviously take a breather. The stock market has just been completely on fire. And again, there's so much money out there. And one of the reasons why the stock market's on fire is hyperinflation risks are rising. So basically, there is a big surge in inflation. U.S. policymakers continue to deny that there really is. It's just a transitory thing. But the U.S. policymakers, at least, and in other parts of the world, they still are increasing their spending while failing to connect the dots between policies and rising price pressures. They think, well, we can just print all the money we want and it won't have any impact on inflation. But inflation is the silent thief. And the combination of debt monetization and lack of understanding of economics among the general population and policymakers has resulted in a huge surge for government spending. And it's very difficult to spend and give stuff away and then pull it back. Like imagine you being an employer and saying to your employees, I'll give you a 20% raise in your salary. And then a year later, I'm taking that 20% raise back and I'm reducing your salary by a further 10%. Can you imagine? People wouldn't be very happy. So I believe many economies will continue to run large deficits indefinitely and print the difference. That's the only way out. And this is how I believe that's happening. First of all, we have Peter Thiel, who is a Bitcoin fan, and he's also an extremely smart investor. The guy behind names like Palantir, PayPal, etc. But here he believes the high price of Bitcoin and the demand for Bitcoin replaces or basically makes the case and indicates the economy is facing real inflation. and prices are not transitory, price rises are not transitory, etc., and we are in a real mess. He did say something really interesting a week or so ago, and that is he regrets not buying more Bitcoin when the price was lower. And this man has a lot of Bitcoin. He has about 30,000 Bitcoin, I think, by my count, maybe more. And super interesting to watch, but he's very critical of institutions for dismissing opposing views. And he said the Fed is in a state of epistemic closure, which is not good. All right, now a little further illustration of the problem we have is to spell it out with a simple chart. If you look here, you can see the US fiscal deficit as a percentage of GDP, which is the green line. You've got the tax receipts, the dark blue line below. And basically, a government should always have a balanced budget, which means the taxes should cover the actual spending. But if you look at this chart, it's not, and it'll never do that. It's too late. It is too late. It hasn't done that for, I think, 20 years approximately, maybe even more, and it looks like it'll never be able to do it again. So the deficit is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, especially when it comes to debt servicing. As I say, they painted themselves into a box and there's no getting out. So here we are as a graphical illustration. And in a little bit of sad news, imagine being stuck in Disney. Well, in China, I think Hong Kong or Shanghai, I'm not sure, somewhere like that. It was the Shanghai Disneyland. One person was discovered, one guest got C19, and they locked 30,000 people inside the park. So I heard Disneyland food isn't very good, but I hope everybody is okay in there, and we'll see. But these type of terrible things can happen. Anyway, that's it for now. Let's open up some Q&A and hope everybody is doing fantastic. And see where Bitcoin's going too. Let me see. I know I got the questions here somewhere. Big thank you to the mods out there as well. And K8 for managing the questions. We never miss a super chat, at least I hope not. JRAM, big thank you for your donation as well. I just found out my wife is pregnant. I might name the first child after you. Great. DCA a whole bunch of Bitcoin for my firstborn. Congratulations, JRAM. That's so good to hear. And let us know what we can do. But I think you are well financially set for you and your family, and everybody must be very proud. So congratulations. And you should be saving money for the baby too. So, well, I'll make it up to you. Marinelle Medea, are you bullish in UiPath Inc. stock? I picked up some on a dip. Yes, I am. Some of the names I get into, you guys know, I play the long game. I get into something, 9 times out of 10 it'll explode. Sometimes it explodes in a week, sometimes a day, sometimes a month. But I always buy time. I always have a 1 year time frame for these things to pop. So things like UiPath will do very well in 2023, 2022, and many other names too. So you just like to get in early, and if they ever go down a lot more, then I average in hard. For example, I bought Coinbase is a good example. I waited for a long time after the IPO until Coinbase hit 250, went down from about 450 all the way to 250, bought a call option, waited, it went to about 280, then it fell back to 225. Then I bought 5 times the amount of call options on Coinbase at 225. And that's how I do it. So I have a thesis, I get a commitment, I get a taste, and I go in hard if it really gets totally oversold. So that's what I do. But I still remain bullish in UiPath. I still have it, and I'm very patient, and I'll wait for it to pop. Alpha Jester, not financial advice, of course, looking to trade into Bitcoin in this bull run. Do you see Bitcoin dominance going up or down towards the tail end of the run? So what I see, it's a very different cycle this year than before. I don't see Bitcoin dominance going above 50%, unless, of course, it starts going parabolic real fast. Then it could go to 50, 60, 65% very easily. But it's not sustainable above 50% because there's so much value in all the other chains out there. So I don't see that happening. In terms of trading the dominance, it's a risky thing to do because, again, there's 3 distinct movements now. You got all your smart contract platforms, then you have your meme junk, and then you have your core, Bitcoin. So they're all going in different directions. If you look at Polkadot now, it's not connected to what's happening in other areas. And then we had the metaverse plays over the weekend pop all the way up and all the way down real fast. So it's tough. But in terms of dominance, it's really hard to say. I think Bitcoin is going to be much more of a sustainable play. It's going to go out into Q1, Q2, 2022, and we'll see. In terms of the dominance going up or down towards the tail end of the run, I think people will get rid of all their alts and the riskier names and move it into things like Bitcoin. So I think it could go up towards the end of the run, but we don't know how far, how high this is all going to go. But as we get closer, we'll be able to have a better idea. Crypto Creed, let me know the price target for Engine. So my original price target was going to be, I think I was planning to sell it about $2, but I'm holding now because I believe it could go to $4. Let me just check right now. I know it hit $3.50, but I'm looking at like $4, maybe get out. These things, all the metaverse plays are extremely risky, like Rally, extremely risky, extremely poorly structured, but great for a speculation. These are not long-term holds. Engine might be, but Chili's, no. Just while it's hot, get in, get out. Buy Chili's at 25 cents, sell it at 50 or 70, depending on what your taste is. So that's the way I see these things. Cryptolicious, could Matic be one of those non-performers that surprise you normally? Robust list of wins. It seems to be a bit of a laggard. Can't win them all. Nibbles for the animals. Thank you, Cryptolicious. A laggard. Matic went up 100% in 4 weeks. I don't know why people call them laggards. I mean, it's incredible. So Matic has just so much value compared to other chains out there. It's just a matter of time. I still remain, I had a target of about 298 for Matic. I've actually upped that to about 350. Because I just think it is so valuable, but people don't realize. But again, this market's crazy. If people aren't happy with 100% return in 4 weeks, I don't know what can happen. And we did get lucky with a couple of things going up very big in a very short period of time, including equities. Like Tesla's nearly doubled. CleanSpark doubled. So it is a crazy market. And Q4 is always crazy anyway. After always a week of August, September, it always goes bonkers. So N31, what do you estimate the whole crypto market cap to get to this bull run? I think definitely $4 trillion is very possible. I think 5 is a stretch. But it all really depends how big the mothership goes. If Bitcoin goes to 200,000, that's easily a $5 trillion market. That's the way I look at things. But I'm thinking more of a, 3 to 4 trillion is possible. But we'll see. It all depends on how big things go, how much of a blow off top there is. And if it does happen, of course, it could trace back quite quickly as well. Josh T, should I sell Tesla, Sol, and ETH in this cycle, even if I have to pay short-term gains? Got in around March. Yeah, you got to do that type of math on the back of your napkin, because if you are in a place like California or New York and you've got a state and local tax limit of what you can write off, you could be paying 40% federal plus 12% state, which is more than 50%. Then it gets painful. So you need to be able to make sure you can take the gains, how big the gains are, and still get back into the asset at a good price. So I've covered a couple of models like that in the past, but I just do the back of the napkin math if it makes sense. There's certain things may not make sense. I have to figure out what I do with Tesla. I think it's overbought right now. Just looking at the charts, it is just like I haven't seen for a long time. But whenever something goes straight up like that, it always, 99% of the time, comes back down to earth. So you just need to be patient. Sol, I think I may keep if it continues to grow at the rate it's growing. And Ethereum, I'm not sure. May keep that too and just hedge those assets for any downside if I do see a top. Because sometimes taxes are just a pain, but it's better to hedge. Scott Limoges, what happened to Goog today? Let me see what happened to Goog. I know it was knocking on the door of 3,000, and yeah, that's not a big deal. I mean, it fell to the price it was on Thursday. So I haven't actually looked at the news for Google. I can't see anything that is opposite or bad or negative. And I should be watching, but I was just too fixated on other things today. I'm digging into a few new tokens as well, so I wasn't tracking Google. Was looking at Tesla, however. But Scott, let me see if I can figure out later. But it's just normal. It's like it's back at Thursday's level, so no big deal. Marley, I have 20.5 BETH on Binance, which is only worth 93% of ETH. Should I stake it somewhere else and get the 7% hit? Or I don't like wrapped anything. I like the pure form, so I just take the hit and get off of Binance. I got off of Binance back in April or May. I just don't trust it, and especially the way they're holding onto people's funds and stuff like that. I just think there's better places to play, like Coinbase Pro or FTX. David Guest, price impact if Satoshi sold all their Bitcoin. I think it would rattle the markets. I think it would bring about a 20% dip pretty fast, but it doesn't change anything with the protocol. It just means, well, there's a big glut and some people will get surprised, but it's not going to do anything. And it's very easy to absorb 1 million Bitcoin, considering, as I always say, there'll never be more than 14 million. People think there's 21 million. So the math is off by 7 million. Having an extra 1 million of that 7 million that's gone would be a good thing, in my opinion, just to increase the supply. So it would be a 20% hit, but it wouldn't last that long. It's like I estimate if Tether blew up, it would be a 6 to 8% hit on the Bitcoin price, but it would quickly rebound. So Peter, if I don't need the money anytime soon, do you think it's fine to hold Bitcoin, ETH, and Solana and not sell a cycle top? It's too stressful time yet. You've got the right attitude. If you have a 4 to 5 year time horizon, like going out to 2025, just turn your back and wait. Save up some cash. And if there is a big retracement, then buy in, middle of 2022 and get more. But again, between taxes and everything else, if you have short-term capital gains, sometimes it makes sense just not to sell and just to hold. Some people like to try and time things. It's very hard to do, but possible to do. And I think the best way is just to, if you do need the money, layer out. But yeah, I think, Peter, you got the right attitude here, for sure. Barack's Crypto Obama. Ecomi just announced partnership with USPS. Last week was Disney. Vivaverse is coming out next year. Immutable X, Move in Motion. Worth looking into. I looked at Ecomi a while ago. I looked at Cadena over the weekend. Hated it. I'll dig into Ecomi again. I'll have a look and see if anything's changed. Still trying to figure out Phantom, if it's worth swapping something for. So we'll see. But we'll have another look at Ecomi as well. Crypto Puppy, with all the mass adoption coming this year, I don't see more than 25% retracement. Would you agree? We're selling anything because capital gain taxes. Glad to see everybody's thinking about taxes, which is great. I do think, if you look at the floor, I think 50K is the new floor. So if you go to 100K, we might go back to 50K, but it'll be temporary, and we'll kind of consolidate around the 65K level. So that could be a 50% retracement. If you go to 200K, a 50% retracement will take us back to 100K, maybe a little lower, maybe 90K. So it's just the people that will sell are the fickle retail investors. But if you look at the action on things like Ethereum right now and Bitcoin, it's institutional money. It's not retail investors. So, if a bunch of retail investors get nervous and start selling, their coins will be bought up by institutions, and then they're not letting go. So I think you're right there. I think everybody needs to be careful. Again, my biggest fear for you all is if you get out, and I'm always on the receiving end of conversations with people saying, oh, I sold Solana at 65 and I wanted to get back in at 50 and it never went down again. Or, it's just a shame. We don't know where this is going to go. We do know it's probably going to $1 million by the year 2030. The question is, are you good enough at timing, getting in and out and eating the taxes during that time frame? Remember, 55 million millionaires, and there's less than 2 million Bitcoins left. So that should tell you. And these guys are coming for it. Like I said, from the guy from the Cowen Corporation, they're seeing calls coming in from high net worth people and institutions. I want some Bitcoin. So everybody's coming for it. There's not very much of it. So be careful selling. That's my advice to you all. I personally am holding Bitcoin. Chad G, would you recommend Jerome Powell and Christine Lagarde if they sought your counsel on what doing going forward, reducing printing, inflation, and currency debasement? That's a very good question, Chad. First of all, Jerome Powell I talk to because I trust him. Christine Lagarde I wouldn't talk to because I don't trust her. So I would never mingle with people that are in any way sketchy or dishonest. So she can go pound sand as far as I'm concerned. Jerome Powell, he has the best advisors in the world. But remember, they're politicians. So they're being pulled in directions to serve their masters who are other politicians. So they've been told what to do. They don't have full control. They can't say, hey, Biden, I'm not printing any more money. You say, no, you got to, because we've got to do all this debt forgiveness. We've got to pay all these people all these benefits, and we got this whole infrastructure program. So they're stuck in a hard place. They know what's going on. They know the impact of money printing. They're just trying to be good citizens and do what they're told. So I don't think I need to advise them anything. It's as clear as day what's happening, and they know damn well. But hopefully, well, Jerome Powell, good guy, smart guy. He'll be probably retired soon anyway and go off work for a big bank. Copycat, if you had 800 strike covered call expiring this month and didn't want to sell the shares, what strike and exposure would you roll up to? I don't know what stock you have. If it's an 800 strike, I'd imagine it could be Tesla. So right now, you'd have to roll up to probably the 1300s and sell that, but that's a very expensive decision. The 1200s, 1300s, you might get 150, 180 bucks for going out a year. And the cost to cover the ones you have, it'll be mostly intrinsic. So that'll be $450, $500. Think carefully about that. Sometimes if things just do get called away, that's fine with me. I've been in Tesla myself for a long time, since the 30s. So we'll wait and see. But I also have new leaps on Tesla. So if my stock gets called away, it's okay, because I bought leaps during the dip this year. So I just start all over again. And I have the same position of my equity position, just in a different form. And that's a good way to think about it too. Hien Win. I own a large bag of Sol with cost base around 100. If I think Sol can reach 750 this cycle, what would be your exit strategy? I'm working on that. So I'm trying to map out where those layers would be up all the way up to 750. But it all depends on what happens with Ethereum. That's kind of the big $1 million question. We don't know how high ETH is going to go, but that will drive Solana right now, as far as I'm concerned. In fact, let's see if anything's happening out there on the market. I know it was a completely crazy day with the movements in SoFi and ClearSpark and Link and Coinbase and MicroStrategy. And everything has just been on fire. Sol's at 204. It's been very quiet, like the last month or so. It's just going to boom real soon, because Ethereum has already run. So, and it's got a lot more to go as well. And that'll just drag the rest of the market up. So I will be sharing that soon. But again, Solana might be one of those names, so I do believe Ethereum will be $1 trillion market cap. And I believe Solana will be a $300 billion market cap easily, maybe 200 billion for sure. So it's a 4x from here over the medium term. So the question is, do you want to get out? And is there something better you can get into? And I keep looking and I keep coming up empty. So we'll see. Anyway, stay tuned for the exit models. I give a hint of one for Polkadot yesterday. But again, it's difficult to assess where the parachain auction is going to go. But that's going to drive the price up high. But I'll be working on more of those as we go forward. And a big thank you for a donation as well, Josh. Appreciate that. Jimmy God, thoughts on Cody and Mango markets for this run? Not interested. I checked out all those markets. Don't like them. There's better assets. And they are not ones that I would touch. And I have looked at both of them. Eden M, what do you think about lengthening cycle and possibility the top could be Q1 2022 and could the spot ETF be a top signal? That's interesting. I haven't put those dates together. I don't think the spot ETF will come till May or June 2022. That'd be interesting if the top is at the same time. And it's all possible. Sometimes these are orchestrated events. But I definitely believe we're going to March sometime. So for sure, Q1 2022, the end of it, we'll be running to. Brody, what do you think about CVX Convex? I don't know. Convex. Let me have a look if I have it here. I don't have it in the top 300. Hold on a second. And in case you don't know, I don't look outside the top 300. Unless it's something very, very special. That's number 215 now. Must have just... Oh, it just exploded. Yeah, it's one of those things where people always ask me that. It's like, oh, what do you think of this? And it typically gets after something has taken a run from $5 to $32. Yeah, it's gone. Your opportunity is gone. So I don't know it. I haven't been tracking it. I don't chase. I replace. And it's a DeFi yield aggregator. That's also a very competitive space. I just prefer the smart contract platforms. And a little bit of Uniswap, a little bit of Aave. And I think the Convex would be too risky. Also, the tokenomics does not look good from what I see here on Masari. So I would not touch Convex. Thank you for your question, Brody. And I'm very picky about what I touch. Because I have a choice of where I can invest. It doesn't have to be crypto. So Andrew S. Around what price should I stop accumulating? By the way, honest thoughts on No Nut November. I don't know what No Nut November means. Anyway, if it's Bitcoin you're referring to, up to 65k, maybe 70k, and then time to stop and figure out what else you can invest in. If you have no Bitcoin, everybody needs some Bitcoin. Everybody should try to be a whole coiner if at all possible, and then take it from there. But that's what I believe, Andrew. And Ollie Brown, any chance you could take a look at ITM hydrogen play? Let me know if it's a buy, please. If it's a hydrogen car manufacturer, they're a waste of time. It's extremely difficult to store and refill hydrogen into a hydrogen car. I know somebody who has one, and it's a complete waste of time. Let me just check it real quick and see if it is that type of play. Or is it a crypto? Hydrogen economy company. Yeah. They'll never take off from a car fueling perspective. It's just too complex. So I'll have a quick look later, but I just know the space. I don't believe in the technology. It's going to be all batteries and electrification. That's the future of those types of energies, because the transportation and the fueling of the hydrogen is way too risky and too complex. FXU, what are your thoughts on Cody? Don't like it, I'm afraid. Looked at it. I think there are better places. It's SED. When should one take profit on Sol? Cost average 83 per coin, still 98 price prediction on DOT. Polkadot, yeah, I think it's going to $100. And it could happen in November. It could go completely crazy, maybe December, depending on how the auctions go. And then that'll be the time that I would probably exit. In terms of Solana, it depends if you need to take profit. It could go to 400, it could go to 750. 500 is very likely. If you feel you need to sell it, then by all means. I'm currently staking my Solana in 2 different places, so I don't plan on selling because I believe in the long-term future. And a big thank you for donations as well. Letroll2, GT350, Crypto Guy, Alex Rogan, Viciously, Andy Ward, Thomas Kelly, Crypto, FXU, Thomas Kelly twice, Sol Strider, Cass Satoshi, German Girl Virginia, S. McBride, Playing with Pastels, Moosh, Harley Jane, Crypto Jippo, Pony, Mango, Hey Jeff Hammerberg, Vanessa, Trisha Berger, Bad Kitty, DC, Dave Reddy, Al H, Sergey G, Korn Ozma, Ahmad Ali, Menaxi P, YK824, Magno Tech 360, and Dragonfire, Christina Wendell, and good night all. I will see what the market does tonight, but I remain steadfastly bullish, and I think November is going to be great, even better than October. And October, we said at the beginning, is going to be Uptober, and it was. So let me see. Oh, by the way, somebody just said, no nut November is abstinence in November. Stupid. From what? Coffee, booze, whatever. Anyway, thanks all. Take care, everybody.